You watch Bob's Burgers, right?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, well, I was singing this song earlier because pass the cranberry sauce. We're having mashed potatoes. Ooh, the turkey looks great. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being there. Thank you for loving me. Everyone's thinking. The whole world's thinking you killed the turkey. Happy Thanksgiving.
Are you singing that to me? Or just in general?
No, to you specifically. And Rebecca.
She's going to be so creeped out and never listen to us again. Hi, I'm Olivia.
And I'm Kelly, and this is a Court of Theories podcast
where we deep dive all things ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and Crescent City.
This podcast contains spoilers. Happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving.
We're clearly recording this ahead of time.
But we didn't want to leave you high and dry for Thanksgiving.
Not on a Thursday.
When you're going to have to probably be with your family and you're definitely going to need a reason to get away.
Yep. And number one, it's okay if you're not married. It's okay if you don't have babies and you're doing great, regardless of whatever your grandma said today.
Unless you're a serial killer, then maybe stop.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're doing great.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You know what? Not here to pass judgment.
Maybe you have a good reason.
Yeah. You know what? I have a list.
I was rooting for Dexter.
So is Casey. Always.
There you go.
And you know what? And you're probably a really good looking serial killer. Like Ted Bundy. What?
Too far.
He was a stud.
Too far.
Still a stud. Had gray hair. Shouldn't have drove that yellow Beetle. Also, what did he ever do with that front seat? Where'd it go?
I don't know. Can we please start talking about our podcast instead of...
Oh, instead of Ted Bundy?
Too far.
Oh. That's not our podcast? Oh. I listen to a lot of those. But anyways, happy Thanksgiving. Welcome. And hopefully your belly's full and you're happy and you haven't had to yell at any family members.
Or punch a racist uncle.
You know what?
We hope you didn't have to.
We hope you didn't have to, but if you had to,
good job.
We're proud of you. Always proud of you. But yeah, we're excited. It's Thanksgiving. We're spending it together. No, we're not. Olivia didn't. She did not want to hang out with me on Thanksgiving. Also, just before we follow up, because from whenever you listen to this episode to the next episode, last episode was Liv's birthday. Hope you had a great birthday. Hope it was solid. But
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet. We'll see. But happy birthday to our gal pal forever and ever, who is a driving force in this show, whether she realizes it or not. Emily's Theories.
Oh, shit. I thought it was about me.
No, you had one episode.
When's her birthday?
And according to Reddit, November 28th. She could have lied.
I thought, wow, you're calling me a driving force? I'm so excited. Damn. I should have known it was too good to be true.
You know what? If that's what you need to take with Thanksgiving.
Happy birthday, Emily.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Emily. Olivia is Delulu.
Hoping to have half the influence on this podcast that you do someday.
We'll see.
I just found a real good post that helps solidify our theories from our last episode.
We have to save it.
We'll save it.
We'll save it.
Effing good.
We'll save it. Because we need to...
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Because we need the Thanksgiving episode to just be light. Given how we ended our last episode. Mm-hmm. And so in that, I have a pretty good little tidbit thing that has a straight line of light. As far as Bryce Quinlan's true powers.
Okay.
Then I'll
hit it.
All right. As far as a light, of course, we've got happy birthday, Emily. Because you bet I'm going to use some of your wonderful shit today. So thank you for loving us. Thank you for being there. Kill the turkey. So, Bryce Quinlan's true powers. A theory by none other than Emmy Ego / Emily's Theories. So, towards the end of the first Crescent City, we witnessed Bryce make the drop. Okay, we've all know it. We've all heard it. We've all seen it. We've talked about it a lot. During this process, Bryce chooses to live. She uses the power from the gates to shed her mortal body to then emerge as an immortal. She also uses Danica as an anchor, something thought to be otherwise impossible because Danica's dead. Neither one of us are really sad about that.
Not really.
I feel like that's not a popular opinion, but it's our opinion, and we're going to stand by it. When offering an explanation for this, we are simply told, through love, all is possible. Okay. Anyways. Sorry. You all heard a few episodes ago how we felt. Also, so this is very parallel to towards the end of Kingdom of Ash, Aelin gives her life to close the gate. But instead, she chooses to live. Selfish brat. Anyways. You know what? No, I'm not going to say it because Rowan is... That's my couple skulls. God, they bite each other and punch each other in the face. So as a result, she sheds her mortal body and can no longer shift into her human form, and she emerges as an immortal. Aelin gained the courage to do this because she loved her kingdom. And in this moment, Aelin made the drop, which we know she waved at, Rhys and Feyre. Which was like definite foreshadowing for pregnant little Feyre. But anyways, so Aelin's anchor was created by Rowan as he tattooed word marks on her back that allowed her to grab a hold of a tether and plunge back to life. Danica also tattooed word marks on Bryce's back, unknowingly, which is likely how Bryce made the drop. Similarly, at the end of Amarantha's trial, Feyre was killed, but she chose to live. She shed her mortal body and again used the tattoo inked on her skin due to her bargain with Rhys that created a tether back to life for her to grab onto, and she emerged as immortal. The motif of love was once again shown as it was the answer to Amarantha's curse, and Feyre made the drop because the answer to the riddle is love. When Feyre was resurrected, she was given a drop of power from the 7 High Lords. Similarly, when Bryce was resurrected, she was given a drop of power from every single being who had ever donated to the gates in Midgard.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with that. I feel like that's going to come into play. I hope it does.
I mean, before Feyre learnt, I don't know why I enunciated that so hard. Before Feyre learned how to harness and wield the power that the High Lords gave her, she could feel it accumulating inside of her. And it even says, even that thrumming power in my veins had vanished, burrowing somewhere in my bones. Bryce says the same thing, that she could feel a, quote, cloud of power inside of her, but she can't yet access it. She says, I can feel it, like this giant cloud of power right there. But what if she could? What if, just like Feyre, Bryce learned how to wield the kernels of power given to her by the citizens of Midgard? We already have evidence that is indeed possible. When Bryce is completing the drop, she could feel her power shifting between all the different gifts. She even uses a mighty tail to thrust upwards and grew vast wings to soar higher. And it says in the text, her power shifted, dancing between forms and gifts. She thrust upward with a push of a mighty tail, twisted and rose with a sweep of vast wings. She was all things, and yet herself. Thus, if Bryce unlocks this power inside of her, she could quite literally possess the power of every magical creature on Midgard. She would be House of Earth and Blood, Sky and Breath, Flame and Shadow, and many waters. She would be all houses all at once. And given that Midgard hosts beings from multiple different planets, Bryce would embody every magical creature across the entire universe. Perhaps that is what the CC3 cover is trying to depict. The woman on this cover has fur, a shifter, iron teeth claws, a witch, devil horns, a demon, and the markings of all the courts of Prythian along her arm. Spring, autumn, winter, summer, day, night, dawn, and dusk powers. She is everything all at once. This could also explain why Apollyon, the 7th and mightiest prince of hell, wants Bryce to become accustomed to her powers. He wants a, quote, worthy opponent and insists on facing Bryce at her, quote, full power. The Prince of the Pit wants a worthy opponent this time, one who will not break so easily as Prince Peleus did so long ago. He insists on facing you, Starborn, at your full power. But this alone suggests that Bryce, at her full power, is an equal match for Apollyon, arguably the most formidable force in the SJM universe. Bryce is unfathomably powerful, and she doesn't even know it yet. The only way to describe Bryce's power is that of a god. Given that the 8-pointed star glows on her chest, the symbol of the gods, perhaps there's merit to this thought after all. Besides, the characters in the Throne of Glass world describes gods as almighty beings from another world. Now that Bryce has entered Prythian, this definition rings true. And also somebody commented at the bottom that literally said, I'm here waiting for her to freaking shapeshift. And someone responded, a true wolf. So then this also follows up with 12 days ago. Happy birthday, Emmy, because we got another one from you. That is a very nice follow-up to that because it's the importance of Bryce's star. So in House of Sky and Breath, Regalia states that the star on Bryce's chest is a beacon true to the true homeworld of the Fae, Prythian. It is said that this very star can lead people back to the world. And it says, the star on your chest, do you know what it is? It's a beacon to the world from which the Fae originally came. In the Throne of Glass, SJM also uses the word beacon to describe the Lord of the North and its constellation in the sky. It is said that if you look up in the sky and find the Lord of the North constellation, you will always find your way home to Terrasen. The Lord of the North. So the people of Terrasen will always know how to find their way home. So they can look up in the sky no matter where they are and know Terrasen is forever with them. And then also in another text, she couldn't find the Lord of the North, her beacon home. Emily goes on to say that she believes that the star on Bryce's chest and the Lord of the North constellation serve the same purpose. The Lord of the North guides Aelin and her people back home to Terrasen, and Bryce's star guides her people back home to Prythian to the Dusk Court. And a rather poetic foreshadowing of this, in Silver Flames, we are told that the prison island, the Dusk Court, appears to be abandoned, which we have talked about time and time again. However, it's also said that something great once existed on the island and then vanished, that the island still waited for it to return, which we have talked about time and time again. And then in Earth and Blood, Bryce is specifically walking through a garden during twilight, which is another word for dusk. And she does this, the flowers around her start to open and the ferns begin to unfurl. Hunt remarks that it's as if the garden seemed to, quote, awaken for her. Bryce possesses Thea's exact starlight, the light of the starborn queen who ruled the prison island, the Dusk Court, the very island that has been waiting for its people to return. Thus, believing that when Bryce steps foot on that island, it will finally awaken and bloom. And the Dusk Court's queen will be home once again. Especially as a queen, her having the powers of basically every being that exists in Midgard. Someone replied with, and when Aelin returns home, so do the king's flames begin to bloom again. When the realm is truly at peace. Someone said, I honestly wouldn't hate this. Oh, someone says, I think that makes more sense because Rune is said to be the last of the Crescent City Fae line. He will be the start of a new line in the Dusk Court. And then they're saying that they don't believe that Bryce would leave Crescent City to stay in Prythian forever because she just has so much to go back home to, including her mom and Randall. And then, I mean, she just dropped Emil on their front porch and was like, new fishing buddy, Randall.
I forgot about that kid. Something's going to happen with him.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've kind of talked about him a little bit. I definitely think it might be like another like Aelin thing where his powers are just like really repressed. Like he had to basically, I think that Sophie didn't really force him to shove them down, but to protect him. Again, just another parallel. What's up?
You're like, we're going to talk about something totally different. You know how I said like a couple weeks ago, like what if Bryce and Rune's starborn power came from their moms?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last episode, we talked about Bryce being a descendant of Thea and Adis.
Mm-hmm.
I found a flow chart. This person just proved me right on both points. Would you like to see?
Yeah.
This is regular_main 4600 4 months ago. It says cross posted, but it's the same person both places. Okay. I was just making sure they weren't like sharing it from someone else. This is the person's post that I'm giving credit to.
Oh, okay.
What is Bryce's lineage? Something had always bothered me about Bryce's lineage. Her starborn powers are so vastly different to Rune's, although they supposedly share the same starborn line via their shared father, Einar Danon, the Autumn King. You could argue that the difference could be that Rune's mother, Lauren Donnell, is also a starborn bloodline, the Donnell line. But if this were the only reason, you'd expect Rune to have more starborn power than Bryce, not less. Mm-hmm. I think there is an explanation, and it's that Bryce has more starborn bloodline ties than she is aware of, and it comes from her mother's side, Ember Quinlan. I also think that Ember, and therefore Bryce, is not only a descendant of Queen Thea, but also Prince Adis, and it looks like this, and here's a flowchart. Prince Adis and Queen Thea came together to have a child, an unnamed Quinlan. Queen Thea, I don't know what I said. Queen Thea also had other children, Princess Helena and an unnamed princess. Princess Helena had a child with Peleus, and this is where the bloodline is corrupted, it says. Thea's bloodline goes two ways. It goes with Adis, and it goes the other way with what's-his-face, where she has Helena
Theon
and an unnamed princess. Yeah. Helena has Peleus. Mm-hmm. Helena and Peleus together have multiple children. We don't know. Essentially, it comes down to this. Ember Quinlan is an uncorrupted, she's a pure bloodline of Thea.
Uh-huh.
But because Helena was with Peleus, it got corrupted on the other side. And that's the Donnells. And then the Danons. So Ember Quinlan, who's pure, and Einar Danon came together and had Bryce. And then Einar Danon with Lauren Donnell had Rune Danon. We've talked about this before because...
Yeah. We've definitely talked about a variation of this. I was going to say,
because the episode where I was like, it came from the moms, we were like, I read the part where the Autumn King says that Rune essentially is like, you bred her and sent her out to pasture, essentially. And the Autumn King's like, you've benefited very well from that breeding. So it makes it sound like they know what's up, essentially.
Yeah.
So then it says, here's some more explanations. It gets good. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
It gets even. I'm so good at this. If only I had a harness. We find out in Earth and Blood that Adis and Thea were lovers, and from the terminology used by Adis when referring to Thea, quote, I shall never forget the exact shine and hue of Thea's light. It is still a song in my blood. That's in the epilogue of Earth and Blood. Mm-hmm. We could even be led that they were more than lovers and potentially mates. Either way, it is entirely possible that Thea had a child with Adis during her time on Midgard with him, and the descendant of that child is Ember Quinlan. So this is with the assumption that they had a child together.
Okay.
Which, again, explains his special interest in Bryce for seemingly a reason. Why does he show up to comfort her when she's crying outside of an oracle? Random, weird. Why does he care?
Also, were you watching the whole time? Were you observing and then you were like, oh, that didn't go well? And then also you're kind of nosy. I don't know.
Here we go. Here it gets good. You ready? Ready?
I'm buckled up.
There are many clues throughout the series that point to this, and here are the ones I've picked up on. Number 1, the name Quinlan comes from the old Gaelic name. I'm going to butcher the shit out of this. Conlian, which means descendant of Conlian. This directly translates to descendant of the slender. Okay, you're like, whatever. We know SJM picks her words very carefully with meaning. When Adis first appears in Earth and Blood, when Bryce summons him, the first descriptive word used about him is slender.
Shut up.
Bryce says, quote, this slender, pale-skinned, pretty boy. Okay? It gets better.
Because we have talked about the origin of some of their names before. Like I've mentioned like Quinlan, but not... I mean, we talked about slender, which we were like, that doesn't describe Bryce, but okay, go on.
It gets so much better.
Okay.
That was the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, great. Oh, goody.
Quin from Quinlan is Latin for 5/5, and Adis occupies the 5th level of hell. Okay? Ember was described as a vessel for Chthona. Remember in Earth and Blood? When pregnant with Bryce. In Greek, Chthona means the underworld, aka hell. I'm not fucking kidding. Ember appears to know her lineage and that she would be protected by the priestesses in the temple in Corinth before she flees the Autumn King after finding out she's pregnant. Refer to this statement. Again, this would explain why the Autumn King was even interested in her to begin with. Because we're like, what's he doing with a human if he's so disgusted by Bryce, supposedly?
Right.
Then, like, why was he with her?
And he, like, openly stated that he would have loved her and stayed
her.
with. Yes. Which is very much not the vibe.
Yeah. So Ember appears to know of her lineage and that she would be protected by the priestesses in the temple of Corinth. Before she flees the Autumn King after finding out she's pregnant. Refer to this statement from Bryce. Quote, she wound up at a temple to Chthona in Corinth and knew the priestesses there would take her in, shield her since she was a holy pregnant vessel or whatever. God. So my sister started ACOTAR and I was like, anytime she brushes something off or is like, nobody knows, but nobody remembers, it seems to be lost in history or whatever. I'm like, that shit's important.
Yeah. No, look at me. It's just filler.
She knew the priestesses would protect her, not because of her baby's paternal bloodline, but because of her own bloodline.
Yeah.
Ember wears a pendant called the Embrace, which signifies Solus and Chthona. Solus referring to the sun. If Chthona is symbolism of hell and Solus symbolizes for a sun, i.e. a star, then it could actually depict the lover's embrace of Adis, the prince of hell, and Thea, the starborn queen. Here we go. This is just more.
There's more?
I mean, that was the beat drop. Okay.
I mean, but that's why I was like, hold on. I got to pick myself up.
That was the beat drop. Aside from the above points, Adis appears to take a particular interest in Bryce. We've just talked about this. After Bryce has a traumatic visit from the Oracle when she's 13, Adis appears in the form of a cat to console a heartbroken/scared Bryce. Would this not be a very odd thing for a Prince of Hell to do if he were not personally invested in Bryce? His mannerisms with Bryce are rather familial throughout the series, and there are a few interactions where this has been mentioned. Refer to this comment from Hunt when Adis having a claim on Bryce when Adis appears in Bryce's apartment. Hello, princess. This is Adis speaking to Bryce. Hunt's blood chilled. The demon prince purred the words with such intent, such delight, like he had some sort of claim on her. Earth and Blood, Sky and Breath, chapter 15. Verse 4. I'm just kidding. Later in the same chapter, Hunt expresses his anger towards Adis over Adis's possessive choice of term towards Bryce. Through my lovely Bryce and the horn on her back, Hunt suppressed a growl at the word my as all of them looked at her. So he's like speaking of her. Adis does make it clear that Peleus's corrupted blood runs through both Bryce and Rowan, and this would point towards the bloodline shared from the Autumn King. The Autumn King is on the corrupted side. And that's how Bryce would get it. Quote, Peleus's craven blood runs through both of your veins. Sky and Breath, chapter 15. I know there will be some people who wouldn't like the idea of Bryce's parents sharing the same distant relative and blah, blah, blah. I'd point out that the ancestor was from 15,000 years ago. Might still give you the ick, but I will also say do not recommend looking up how far your own common ancestors go.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Even the name, which we've talked about the name Ember to begin with. Even the name Ember could hold a small clue. The etymology of the name means spark or burning low. This could signify the kernel/spark of power held in Ember, which then ignites in Bryce. This would be because Bryce happens to be the first phase since the bloodline began, which ignited the power. Okay?
Which would mean that Ember
is
done. Part of the human
phase light. Yeah. It runs through a human line, which is not outrageous to assume that the Archeron sisters could also be part of the human line, because that branches like forever. Like there's not been incest for 15,000 years until Bryce is born. So.
And also the fact that they were humans before they were made, but then also, as I keep saying in pretty much every fucking episode, that Nesta had something more to her Feyre's old name that she had.
And that Archeron is like a name of a river in the underworld?
Yes.
Didn't we come across that?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
All
right. I got a little bit more.
It's all coming together.
Gronk. The plan.
It's the plan. Yeah. It's all coming together.
Yeah. I knew exactly, but I couldn't think of another quote. Okay, here we go. We may have also been given a little clue Easter egg that Ember is a descendant from Thea in another of SJM's series. In Akawar, when Feyre goes to the Bone Carver, he talks of a female Fey warrior who would have been his salvation. I believe that the Fey warrior was Queen Thea, and his salvation would have been his means to return home with the help of Thea and her ability to open gates with the horn and harp. The Bone Carver's only wish was to return home and be saved from the wrath of his siblings. He mentions that the warrior's bloodline has a trace through a human line, quote, though a trace still runs through some human line. That's in Akawar chapter 23. It's been speculated that this human line was the Archerons. See, we just talked about this. I hadn't even read it yet.
Yeah.
However, as we know that Thea was once of the world of Prythian before she went to Midgard, see my next part for more info, I believe that the Bone Carver is actually referring to the Quinlan line. In the same chapter, he goes on to say about the Fey warrior, which I think it could be both. I think there's no reason that it couldn't be both.
Even like crossing over from both sides at the same time. Not even one or the other. Okay.
That would be if we're saying that Azrael and Bryce came from the same like common ancestor again, like 15,000 years ago. And how did one end up in each place?
Because time is only a construct that we have made up and nothing is real.
There you go.
There we go. Join us on our new podcast, The End of the World.
We're all going to die. It's been speculated that this line was the Archerons, blah, blah, blah. However, as we know that Thea was once of the world of Prythian before she went to Midgard, I believe that the Bone Carver was talking about the Quinlan line. In the same chapter, he goes on to say about the Fey warrior, no one remembers her name, but I do. That's the Bone Carver telling Feyre that. Mm-hmm. This also aligns with the record of Thea being wiped
on their podcast.
Yeah, Jesus. This also aligns with history of Thea being wiped from history in Midgard. Ada states, quote, the Asteri fed their lies to your ancestors, made the scholars and philosophers write down their version of events under penalty of death, erased Thea from the record. Sky and Breath, chapter 15.
Verse 7.
Bone Carver is an old god with the power of divination and can see what is happening everywhere at all times. It is not out of the realm of possibility that he could be aware of the bloodline running through humans on Midgard.
Absolutely. And also, to follow up with that, in front of me right now is Happy Birthday, Emmy Ego, is another one. And I have had this tab open, Liv, for weeks. So she posted this about 2 months ago. And so it has and then in parentheses, crack theory about Jezebel, Adis, and Apollyon. And it kind of flows along with some of the stuff that you just talked about with the Bone Carver. Are you ready? Are you ready for my follow-up with you? We are really vibing and jiving today. Really vibing and jiving. Okay. You know what? If this was a record on Thanksgiving, we would clearly have not eaten our turkey yet because we are wide the fuck awake. Okay. So this theory involves time manipulation, time differences, because time is a construct, nothing is real. Mm-hmm. Okay. As well as necromancy and reincarnation, which we have talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. And we're
reduce, reuse, recycle, reincarnate.
We're stands for it. Emily says that this could be unfounded and a little unhinged. I'm never going to actually think that anything that comes from her is going to be like that unhinged.
I saw some comment the other day on one of her videos, and this person was like, I love your theories, but they make me feel like I have a smooth brain. I cannot believe we've read the same books. And honestly, I get it.
She pulls them out of those deep folds.
I know. That's amazing.
She has Jezebel equals Striga, the Weaver. Striga was an immortal hoarder and kept important items and artifacts stashed in her house. And Jezebel essentially does the same thing at Griffin Antiquities.
Oh my God. You're saying Jezebel from Crescent City? I thought you were talking about Lucian's lover, Jesminda, at first. And I was like, what?
No.
Okay. I'm with you. Keep going.
I literally said a crack theory about Jezebel, Adis, and Apollyon.
I'm just...
Not Jesminda. She's dead.
Keep going.
Okay.
I was just really confused.
Okay. Are we good now?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Okay. Griffin Antiquities, Jezebel. Okay. She's a hoarder. Striga was almost certainly Vogue, black blood. We saw that in Act War. Jezebel said...
She's a witch who left her clan.
No, Striga.
Jezebel's a witch who left her clan. I'm just saying. So she also would bleed a different color blood. That's all I'm saying. Keep going.
Okay.
Hey, what if she's one of the Vogue witch babies from Throne of Glass?
She wouldn't be Dorian and Manon, but...
No, because Manon, she didn't get the Vogue baby. Remember the Vogue were like, we want to knock up some of these witches and see what happens. And some of the witches were like volunteering for that shit.
Oh.
Everybody's, what happened to those babies?
Jezebel. Okay. So Jezebel is said to have the voice of a reaper and swore herself to House of Flame and Shadow, which is basically the House of the Vogue. In folklore, Striga or Striga is a witch. And as you said,
shut up.
Jezebel is a witch.
Hell yeah.
When Rhys made a bargain with Striga, the resulting tattoo was of a crescent moon.
Shut up.
I've been sitting on this for so long. The cauldron seems to be a portal / word gate that you go through after death, as that's where Amren and Rhys were fished out from. And we could also say that if we want to go along with our drop theory, so did Nesta and Elaine. That's my little add-in. Striga presumably went through the cauldron roughly around the same time Feyre also threw the Book of Breathings into the cauldron. So would potentially explain why Jezebel now has it. She chucked that bitch in there.
She didn't die. We said that. We said they didn't die.
Yeah.
So who's the bone carver? Is he the...
Hang on.
Wait, can I say it? Can I guess?
No, I'm not there yet. I'm not to him yet. I have one more bullet point. Calm down. The bone carver, so Striga's brother, said that the world they came from turned to dust. Exactly how Parthos is described, which I have talked about before. We have definitely discussed that on here. He then later drew 3 interlocking circles in the sand, which I feel like I just stay on repeat, like a broken fucking record about him drawn in the fucking dirt. Like the symbol of Parthos and the symbol of the Archesian amulet that Jezebel gave to Bryce. Jezebel also guards the Parthos books. Now we're going to go on to the bone carver. Now what did you
Is he the guy with the wolves and the thing? What's he called? The wolf, the people he's got in the tubes that Ethan rescues.
Oh, the
astronomer.
Yeah. I almost
said the bone carver the astronomer?
I almost said the alchemist, and that's not correct. No, he's not in this equation. He's Adis.
Oh.
Because
he can appear to you as whatever the fuck he wants.
Yes, that. And then also it piggybacks off of what you just talked about towards the end, the bone carver being able to see across realms, being all knowing. Adis can show up also in different forms, clearly, if he shows up as a cat. So who's to say that he doesn't take another form whenever he leaves hell to go into another realm, and it's the bone carver.
And he shows back up in Prithian in A Court of Silver Flames as a cat. The bone carver's already dead, so it could just be him coming back.
Because he went home.
Mm-hmm.
So
hell.
Right. So basically he was rid from that world and went home, but then like he's a fucking prince from hell. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. So he came back.
How many siblings does he say he has? He just says he has the 2, right?
Yes. I mean this is just Koschei and then Striga.
And Striga.
And that's it.
Okay.
But in that world.
I was going to say, how many princes of hell do we know of? 2?
3.
We know of 3?
I thought we knew of 3. There's Adis, Apollyon, and I thought there was one more.
I don't know.
And I think he's just mentioned. I don't think that we have met him particularly. I think we just know of him. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God. This is good. This is good. If Adis and Jezebel are siblings, like we were just talking about, like they seem buddy-buddy. And he's, oh yeah, you were the most familiar with Hunt's dad. So is Hunt not a descendant of Jezebel as a princess of hell, essentially? Because he was bred of them. He's like light and dark. So is Hunt also like a combination of someone from hell and something else?
Oh, God. This is not the correct one. I'm in the Demonic Paradise wiki. That is not... Have we met in
I'm going to scream if the lights go out. If your white cat walks in here, I'm going to shit myself.
Crazy May. Okay. How many princes of hell? Okay. You know what? I don't know right now. Hang on. We can. Where'd you go? 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 Here we go.
Also, can I just say that Jezebel is drawn with like blonde hair? I don't remember how Striga was described at the very end. She's described as young and beautiful because she ate Ianthe.
Yep.
Jezebel is drawn with like white-ish hair.
I don't
not
know.
Unlike Ianthe.
I don't know if Striga had black hair, but that doesn't mean that whenever she left that realm, whatever appearance that she wants to take, maybe she really liked Ianthe's hair and she's like, that's what I'm going to keep. Okay, so the bone carver being Adis. The bone carver has the power to see into the future. When Bryce visited and then blinded the oracle then wasn't able to see Bryce's future. However, Adis was there that day and somehow was able to see/know Bryce's future. The bone carver said the, quote, ancient Fey warrior, female, that trapped him and his siblings would have been his, quote, salvation. That's mate language. Adis and Thea? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. The bone carver was also in the prison, which was also the dust court. Jezebel and Adis talk as if they're very close, like you just said. If this is true, they are siblings. And
the guards know what Azrael is.
Because if he's a descendant of Adis. Mm-hmm. And so... Okay.
I have to say this is really freaking me out because I keep imagining the bone carver as a child.
I know. That's just a form that he has taken. So they are siblings. And so are the other princes of hell, who are also Vogue.
So who the fuck is Vogue? The Asteri?
Everyone.
Hell.
Everyone.
Okay.
Vogue is kind of just a... Now that we're out of Throne of Glass, it's more of a blanket term. Basically, for those that are otherworldly, they've come from someplace else. They're almost like invaders. The princes of hell.
Wait. What if Hell and the Asteri are like two sides of this, like they're opposites essentially? Hell, obviously the dark side. Are the Asteri light and stars? Bryce calls herself the seventh Asteri, like as a joke. So if the Asteri are like the start of the Starborn, imagine that. Imagine all the Starborn are like somehow related descendants based off of something to do with the Asteri. And Bryce is like, yeah, and I'm the seventh Asteri. As a joke, what if Bryce is like some kind of like reincarnation? Micah says that possessing the horn, one could position themselves as an Asteri and they wouldn't argue it.
And also it ties into that heaven and hell. And we've also talked about this, that angels are not always, especially as there are the different levels of angels, they're not always good. Mm-hmm. They are considered to be warriors. They can even be like invaders. They are not always the like sweet guardian angels at the top of our Christmas trees. They can be just as devious and I guess even deranged as a prince from hell, which would align with the Asteri and how they act. Do we know the
origin of the Starborn?
Yeah, isn't it Thea?
I know, but why does she have it? Where'd she get it?
I don't know. Hopefully we find out that in January. At least something.
They trusted a prince of hell and that was her downfall. The seventh Asteri was eaten by a prince of hell.
Yeah. By the same one. The same one.
Just saying.
The same one.
The Asteri really want to get back to Prithian. They liked that one.
They liked that one.
Or Terrasen. I mean, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean. Aurelia.
Yeah.
But it could all be the same effing place, to be completely honest.
Well, yeah, because again, time is a construct.
Again,
we've
overlaid the laps from the laps. We've overlaid the maps from Agatar and Throne of Glass. And like, you can like color in certain like highlands and lowlands, which motherfucker. Something I read earlier. I just said like color in the highlands and lowlands with water and it becomes like Akatar.
Yes.
Koschei was bound where he is. He's older than the sea is what Vasa says. He's older than the sea. God.
Which
this is eating me alive.
And just talking about like our earth and how like land has been like thrust up. He was stuck because the land rose and he couldn't move.
So is he not the god that Elena has locked under a mountain and now he's stuck in a lake in the sea because he's older than the sea that was a mountain back in the day.
And
In the times of terror, in the times of Throne of Glass. And Koschei, is he not the sibling of Striga and the Bone Carver?
Yes. So, and I've talked about in, I don't know which episode it was, that Koschei is showing himself in different forms across the different times constructs universe. He's Koschei in Akatar, and we even said like he could possibly be the astronomer in Crescent City, but what if he's Apollyon? Jezebel and Adis, Striga and the Bone Carver, escaped confinement in Prythian when they died.
Koschei's still stuck.
But Koschei, their brother, is still there, trapped by the lake. Whenever Apollyon visits Hunt and Bryce, it's always via dreaming or some weird in-between world. Whereas Adis has been able to physically enter Midgard in his cat form. It makes, and Emily says, it makes me feel like Apollyon is stuck somewhere, as he himself is unable to take a physical form. Also, Elaine seemingly gets her visions, quote unquote, of Koschei via dreaming too, which is something that we talked about with the astronomer.
Lucian can see too. I think Lucian might have some kind of seeing power. You're saying like
You don't know anything about the bitch that made his eye.
But Elaine, you're saying like she gets her visions from Koschei or whatever. Whenever Vasa is telling Eris and Lucian and Cassian about Koschei, like pretty much everything she knows, there's one sentence. I just read it. And it says, Lucian looked at the window as if towards the continent, setting his target.
Mm-hmm.
So Elaine and Lucian could just as easily be related to that, not related, tied to the scenario with Koschei.
Yes. And I think that a lot...
As Starborn people.
Not only...
And enemies.
Yes. Well, and not only
Princess of Hell.
that, but also one of the things, and I think we might have said this...
I feel like we're like achieving enlightenment
No,
now.
we really are. You know what? We do all of our best work after midnight. That's all I'm saying. Also...
we, 1 second. How the fuck has Sarah come up with all of this? I know we say it all the time, but like, what?
I know, because think about it. Elaine and Lucian, we have said they are possibly from Starborn lines. That is how...
Does Lucian not mean light? It does.
Yes, it's in one of our spreadsheets. But think about this. Elaine was given seer powers.
Elegant. Ethereal. Like, I don't know. Angels.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, Elaine was given her seer powers from the cauldron. She is seeing things. Her mate has a fucking eye, a mechanical eye that we know hardly anything about, but yet it is such a prominent feature. It is always talked about.
And
it
not
was
equal in every way.
And mates are made equal. It was an ordeal for him. And we meet the maker of his eye briefly. We fucking know nothing else about her. We know nothing about what his eye does. We barely know shit about Elaine and her seer powers and what she's able to actually see. They are in the game as mates because they are going to see that the cauldron was not wrong and that they are going to need each other for their powers, and they are going to realize that they are true equals because of what they can see and what they can see together. And if Azrael is part of a Starborn line, that is why he is called and pulled to Elaine, because they also will be able to come together and need each other, because he will be the link to hell, which also coincides with that Elaine could very well be a queen of hell because of, again, those Starborn lines and that Hades and Persephone storyline that we have talked about. So them as not necessarily as like, we joke, like a throuple, but as romantically, but because of their powers.
But what if...
Also because Azrael's shadows see and tell him about everything that they see. They are also a set of eyes. He is also a spy.
What about Gwen being a light singer and her father being some fae from the spring court that her mom hooked up with during the Great White? Could that not be Lucian.
Lucian is
And so
her granddaddy.
And Gwen, or just her dad,
Daddy.
and not know it.
And there's a lot of there's a lot of not knowing your dad.
And Gwen could also be Starborn and also be a match for Azrael.
Yes. Although, then we're also going to say...
I just feel like we're just crushing
I know.
Right now.
I know. Also, though, yes, Gwen, but I'm still sticking with Azris because how they always know where each other's at. Also, Eris always seems to be seeing things, and he is almost all-knowing. Like, the fact that, like, Mama had an affair. He knows that Lucian's not really his brother. He always is able to give an answer to every, like, war question. He has his own ability to go and spy on things. So, what the fuck?
Hang on.
I'm turning into Charlie Day over here.
I'm with you. We're saying that there's a third Starborn child from Queen Thea.
Also because
that
the
Helion,
3 interlocking fucking circles, 3 is the number.
That Helion can be a descendant of.
Yes.
That gives him the Starborn.
Yes.
That's why Lucian has the Starborn. But what if just Rune and Bryce get Starborn from both sides? What if, because you're saying, like, you think that Azrael and Eris could be mates. I'm like, okay, but Eris needs to be Starborn of some sort. What if there's Starborn from the Lady of Autumn as well?
Yeah.
And the Autumn King
is from the Lady of Autumn.
Related to the Lady of Autumn through...
He is a descendant of Eris.
Through
I'm
the
convinced.
Helena and Peleus line. That's how Einar Danon has Starborn power.
Yes, because
so
I'm
Eris
convinced.
could just as easily... Lucian could be more of like the pure side, like Bryce. Like having it from both sides.
Yes.
Like it's not going to be pure because it's Lady Autumn
but
had
right.
it from Peleus. But
it's more
he's
of
a
a
mix.
pure.
He's a mix
yes.
of the pure and the what am I trying to say? Corrupted.
Yes.
Whereas Eris would just be straight corrupted from his mom.
Mm-hmm. Which that also tracks. But yeah. And it's one of those where, like, yes, Einar looks, it's like, oh, yes, that. But there's so many descriptors that just align specifically with Eris. And for like him to not be a fucking descendant of Eris.
The Einar is trying to get Rune to do some of his Starborn shit so that he can use it for his little model. I forget what they're called.
Solar system?
It's not.
It's a orgy? No, it's an ori. O-R-Y.
You're right. Okay.
But every time I see it, I'm like, orgy?
Yeah, and Rune's that pisses him off that this is all I have whenever our ancestors used to be able to torch entire fields.
Also Aelin. But anyways.
Also Eris. That's what I was thinking.
Also him. But going back further. Aelin? Question mark.
Aelin is the mother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Rowan's the daddy. That sweet little buzzard owl that exists. So then also, God bless it. We
have got to get some kind of board with red string.
We can. Right here. This big wall. Even behind you if we need to. And we could outside this window. So also, when Apollyon visits Bryce, the landscape he chose was Parthos, which ties into what was said above about the bone carver Striga and Koschei, also originating from Parthos, which I have talked about in a previous episode.
Which would make sense.
Yeah.
They had to...
And if Jessica has books on it.
I was going to say, that's where the books came from. They rescued the books. Humans rescued the books from Parthos is what the story is in Crescent City.
Yes. And where did they take them to? They were accumulated by them. So then they weren't lost through time. And then also the most important point of all...
Is it Parthos in Crescent City? Where does Parthos come from?
They talk about it in Crescent City. But I think it's supposed to be tied back to almost like Throne of Glass times.
I'm fucking pissed.
Why are you pissed?
I just Googled Parthos and that was it. Parthos with a U instead of an O. It says either way, Parthos or Parthos, ancient Greek. was a settlement of the Illyrian tribe of the Parthenian in southern Illyria, modern Albania.
And I'm pretty sure that we talked about that, but let's definitely just rehash that. Read that one more time.
Is it the House of Wind?
I'm pretty sure that it's the House of Wind. I think that we have theorized that it could possibly be the House of Wind because of the steps that it's built into, and like just that it's just the stone, and then it goes down into the earth, and it's that like where like Parthos is supposed to be like dusty and like almost like a desert. That's almost
the House of Wind not made of like some kind of red stone?
Yes, it's literally built into that like step, and it is basically a dusty. I mean, the House of Wind itself is not, but that step is like a dusty, barren rock, which is no different than how like a descriptor of like Parthos would be, where it's basically a desert that is dusty.
Parthos was a settlement of the Illyrian tribe of the Partheni in southern Illyria, modern Albania. This is ancient Greek. This is a real life place. That they've not yet, although different sites in central Albania have been proposed, its exact location has not yet been found. But I also want to say, I was like looking at different stuff and like, so could Parthos be Orinth from Throne of Glass? Could be Valaris and Akatar? House of Wind, the library. Could they all be?
Oh, absolutely. Especially the way that the maps lay over. And then who's to say that it couldn't be like Griffin Antiquities in Lunathian, because we only have the city. We don't have it laying over itself because you have to go underground.
Orinth is where Aelin's like kingdom essentially is.
Yeah, that's where Terrasen is.
Did I not just read that where Ember Quinlan went was called Corinth, when there's like a lot of priestesses there? And like a library and shit. Mm-hmm. What the fuck?
Huh? Sounds familiar. Have we read about that before?
I'm going to have a heart attack.
I know. But also the most important point of all is Koschei has been hunting for all of the Dread Trove items. If the horn is the fourth Dread Trove item, then Apollyon has also been hunting for the Dread Trove as well, as we know how much Apollyon wants the horn. Because if Koschei already knows that the inner circle possessed the other three, and then him living and flowing through as Apollyon, and then finding out that Bryce is the fourth one, Bryce has also just been lured to Prythian, where Koschei Apollyon is, where his real body is.
Wait.
No. And now all four items are close to being reunited, almost as if that was part of Apollyon's plan all along.
But
to free himself.
But wait.
There's more.
So Cassian essentially is like, what could the queens have done to get Koschei to bargain with you for that? And Vasa says it was not through their deal making, it was through his. Listen to this. We've talked about what in the world could Papa Archeron have said or done to free Vasa. If Koschei takes Vasa prisoner for his own benefit through the queens, he doesn't free her for Papa Archeron's benefit. He got nothing. Koschei gets something by doing it.
Yes.
Because Koschei knows that Koschei knows who Papa Archeron is. He knows who Nesta is. He knows that Nesta is a death god. He knows that Nesta is going to be able to summon those things literally wherever she is. And he needs them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got three in one place by being able to save Nesta, which is the first ship that Papa Archeron is on. It's named Nesta.
Yep.
He has entire armies.
Yep.
Koschei arranged all of this.
Yes, he did.
And he freed Vasa.
Absolutely.
And he sent Papa Archeron back at the perfect time to save Nesta so that she would not be killed by the King of Hybern. Literally, Koschei saved Nesta and Cassian's life because he knows that Nesta has power and is going to be able to summon 3 of the 4 items that he needs.
And then now he has...
Get Emily on the phone. We have
to tell her. And then now he has, we're always talking in threes, Liv, as far as the little circles go. Our little throuple. You have Vasa, who is directly linked to Koschei. You have Jurian. He has kind of just built himself in as like they're human. And then you have Lucian, who is potentially could be High Lord that we've talked about over 3 different courts in Prythian, and is descended from 2 very powerful families, and one of which directly like from a High Lord, and has powers in his seeing eye that we don't know about, and like they all over there like doing what the fuck ever, hanging out with Vasa. Koschei's watching them all, and he can use them as a tool.
And he's using Elaine. Elaine saw those ravens.
Yes.
Koschei sent Elaine that vision to save Nesta.
Yes, because she could wield all of those, and it's okay. Obviously, like the harp is the time, like that could take me back exactly where I need to go. Like,
do you think Lanthus could have been something to do with Koschei? Do you think Koschei could be presenting as Lanthus?
Possibly,
because of Lanthus's like the vision that he puts into Nesta's head of like basically them being together and like ruling an underworld.
Yeah, because it could be Koschei kind of taking on Apollyon, because no one would really know what that looks like in Akatar, because also his true appearance, Koschei's true appearance, has always been hidden in Akasif. And Emily definitely theorizes that there's a plot twist about his identity, because we only know him by name and we never actually see him as anything. Who's to say that it's not a prince of hell and his deception? And
if Koschei needs the 4th item, and the 4th item is Bryce, and Adis is like, Thea trusted hell, that was her downfall.
Yes.
He can get the other 3 items, but he physically needs Bryce.
Yes.
So when she trusts him as a prince of hell, it will be her downfall.
Yes. Because this also
suggests...
Hunt
will come back and save her because he can hunt demons.
That's right. And this also suggests that Apollyon and the princes of hell were part of the Daglin in the Akatar world. Though the Bone Carver and Striga / Adis and Jezebel seem all right, so maybe there's more to the story. Then this feeds into the additional...
Yeah, why are they in prison? Why was Reese's mom friends with Striga? I have questions. Keep going. Why is the Bone Carver in prison?
The Bone Carver was like the quote unquote weakest of them all.
Like the Daglin? So he was like imprisoned instead of killed or something?
He basically put himself in the prison to protect himself.
Got it.
And so, but here's the thing. When it says the weakest, our brains are like, oh, he's weak as in physically weak. But what if it's like weak as in Adis being so in love with Thea, and if Adis is the Bone Carver just had to lock himself away as to not be destroyed by his siblings, but also by his love for Thea.
Would you like to see this map of Midgard that someone has created? I'm just going to throw it out there that I think that this could be overlaid.
Show me.
And I think that the Haldron Sea that goes through is the middle that no one is ruling over.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to like fuck with it in Akatar.
Right.
And the Northern Rift is the Night Court.
Oh, shut the fuck up. And yeah, and then there's the little Avalon Island.
Shut
the fuck up.
Ironically, in the middle is where Urid was, which is where the mask was.
Yeah. And the Eternal City is Valaris, because there's the 3 goddamn mountains. And then all this up here is all the Illyrian shit.
In the Northern Rift?
Yeah. Where Ramiel would fucking be.
You know where the Asteri death camps are? Real close to the prison. Real close.
Because that's the Dust Court.
They're real close. There's more than one of them. They're real close to the prison, and they're real close to the Court of Nightmares. I'm just saying.
Also, I'm going to need
Nidaros is down at the bottom in the Crescent City world, which is where the mortal lands are. And Nidaros is where the humans live in Crescent City.
Yep. Fuck off. Fuck off.
The Eastros is close to where the Summer Court would be. Blue Court, the mermaids.
I know. Also, the Eastros River is a river of the underworld. So this feeds into an additional crack thought. Are we sure that the Asteri aren't Apollyon's minions? Because Apollyon is the 7th prince of hell. So if Apollyon equals 7, is there any coincidence that literally every single part of Midgard also ties into the number 7? There's 7 gates, 7 heads of Lunathian, 7 Asteri, 7 hills of the Eternal City, 7 calm crystals, 7 steps of the Bone Quarter, 7 layers of the Asteri Palace. Even when Bryce trades her soul to the Underking, she has to say the word 7 times. At this point...
7 courts in Prythian.
And 7 courts.
High lords.
Yes. At this point, are we sure Midgard isn't actually the 7th layer of hell? And Apollyon is supposed to be running the joint, but because he's trapped in Prythian as Koche, the Asteri do it on his behalf? Because think about it, Apollyon refers to Bryce, Hunt, and Sophie Emil, Thunderbirds, are conduits, and that they're so, quote, valuable to him. What do all these people have in common? They can siphon/suck in power, and so can the Asteri, who are also conduits. Then the Oracle in Crescent City 1 describes herself as a conduit of the gods. Once the gods speak, I become the conduit through which their words pass. Thus, are Bryce, Hunt, Thunderbirds plus Asteri all conduits and somehow receptive to Apollyon's will? And Emily says, IDK, but things are sus. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Okay, granted that we've never seen an official map of Midgard. This is just like someone's guess.
Okay.
But this does look, if you lay these on top of each other, this one that someone's come up with versus the actual official Prythian one, you kind of turn it, like rotate, not like actually manipulating it, but if you kind of rotate it just a little.
Kind of like on its axis.
The Northern Rift lines up with the Illyrian Mountains.
Huh.
The Eternal City, pretty damn close to Valaris. Then you've got water.
Hmm.
The only thing, oh my God.
What?
So you know they say that the prison is the Dusk Court?
Yeah.
What if that's not true? There's an island between the Night Court and the Day Court, and that lines up exactly with Avalon on this map. Why would the Dusk Court be on top of the Night Court and not between the two?
Oh, I always pictured that it was the island between the two.
No, this is labeled the prison as up top close to the Illyrian Mountains.
Oh, shit. I've been picturing it wrong this whole time.
The Court of Nightmares lines up with the Asteri death camps.
Which is appropriate.
And then so essentially, this has, again, if this is like lining up, then between the Night Court and the Day Court with the Avalon island over here would be between night and day would be separated by the Haldron Sea.
Because see, when you showed it to me a minute ago, remember how I was like, oh, look, the Avalon Island.
The map on Prythian has it up top, which makes no sense. But then like Lunathian would be essentially the top of the Day Court.
Yeah.
Nidaros would be down further. Again, we do not have...
We can't
this is not to
confirm
scale.
nor deny. Yeah.
This is not to scale.
We've only have the city of Lunathian. Also, just a sidebar really fast, someone also commented at the bottom of this as far as...
See, that's the prison up there, but there's this island here that could just as easily line up with this.
Okay, see, my brain...
But that's what I'm saying. Like, why would the Dusk Court not be between night and day? Why would it be on the other side of night? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, my brain pictured this as the Dusk Court this entire time.
They could be wrong. They're like theorizing that the prison was the other court. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's true.
Also, somebody put on here, I feel like this would make sense because, or the theory of talking about Jezebel, Adis, and Apollyon possibly being the Weaver, the Bone Carver, and Koche, because it said, I feel like this would make sense because it seemed like Striga and the Bone Carver died too easily in Akawar, and we have talked about that before, and had so much more potential. Also, Jurian was able to come back after being accessories for Amarantha. And it says, so I'm sure SJM could come up with a way to bring them back as Jezebel and Adis. Because she literally reincarnated Jurian right back out of... Literally, his finger was on a necklace for Amarantha, and his fucking eye was in a ring. And I understand there's magic involved, but let's be honest. Also, just to sidebar really quick, where the fuck is Bryaxis still? Anybody fucking know?
He's also a demon.
Oh, 100% a fucking demon.
Okay.
What if he was a Crystallos, but like, not a Crystallos?
Okay. What if? So we were saying, earlier.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
Bellius says that Annalius was a god.
Huh? What if it's him?
Shut up. Nesta says that Cassian will be written into the books the same way that Annalius is. And they say that Cassian fights like an Elias. Cassian is like the only one absolutely fucking terrified of Bryaxis.
Uh-huh.
What if like, yes.
He's the only one that has essentially seen Bryaxis for what his like, whatever Bryaxis wanted him to see.
He's all of his worst nightmares come true.
Yes. Cassian's worst fucking nightmares would have to be stuff from war.
Maybe. The Asteri.
And
Elias's memories.
And it doesn't mean that he is just a one singular being. What if the way he presents himself to Cassian is, it could almost just be like a major motion picture of all of these horrible things that have been Cassian's worst nightmares. And the fact that he could bring those to a physical form is why he's so terrified. Everybody else is like aware that Bryaxis is scary. He has shown himself to Cassian, and maybe even he has shown Cassian some things in the future. I mean, Crystallos are scary. I'm sure Princes of Hell are probably really fucking scary.
Apparently they can be when they're not being kitty cats.
Yeah. Who's to say that it's just one singular thing that Cassian has seen? And Bryaxis is going to come back. I don't think we'll necessarily see him in Flame and Shadow. He will definitely make an appearance in the next ACOTAR.
Bryaxis is just like in the bottom of the library, which has 7 layers. Surely that's not like...
I mean, no.
Surely, you know what? Maybe it's...
What are you getting at?
Maybe it's Koschei. Maybe Koschei is Bryaxis and he's just been hanging out. Because, I don't know, Koschei can give people visions and make them see things. And he's the 7th layer of hell. And if Bryaxis is just chilling at the 7th layer of the library, I don't know. And the cat is like in the 5th layer, I think, whenever Gwen and Nesta get spooked. I'm sure it's nothing.
I'm sure it's only filler. So
Koschei is Bryaxis. He wants a window. He wants to see out.
Because also it's a shadowy form.
And Bryaxis agreed to fight with Feyre, with Striga and the Bone Carver.
So he could take out his own siblings. Also, he protected Nesta and Feyre from the Ravens because he did not want either one of them to die.
Because Koschei needs Nesta to be alive.
Yeah, Koschei needs Nesta to be alive.
He needs to summon those things.
And then also with Feyre, just being who Feyre was, like he was like, probably need to stay in good graces with Rhysand for a minute.
So Koschei has made Bryaxis. Bryaxis is Koschei.
Because it's just a shadow. But then also he's able to be a presence without being a solid presence. And then he could show Cassian whatever it was that he wanted to show Cassian. Because he's also a scary fucking prince of hell.
Someone get Sarah on the phone. She's going to be so impressed.
I mean, yes, she's only an hour ahead of us in time zone wise. Like,
it's only 2 a.m. for her.
It's fine.
It's 12:57 in the morning right now. I'm obsessed with us drawing the connection with Koschei keeping Nesta alive and Elaine having the visions, because otherwise you're like, yeah, the King of Hybern wants to kill them or wants them, right, whatever. But
also he's Holland, but
maybe. But yeah, so it's otherwise. What was the point besides?
And also the fact that Elaine, again, just looping back to like why I think that Elaine is going to realize that her and Lucien really are a perfect mated pair, because Lucien can see, Elaine can see. He is daytime, she is spring.
The Starborn gets stuck on the other side of the rift. I can hear your heart beating through the stone. Can you hear mine?
Yes. It's all fluff. All of it.
It hurts.
My head hurts. My heart hurts. And then it says, and then someone else commented, would this also explain why Apollyon was the only one who was able to kill an Asteri? Maybe because he's the one actually in charge of them. And
what's Apollyon mean?
And he fucking stepped out of line.
Who's the one that got eaten?
Sirius is the one that got eaten. And so Apollyon, I looked up once. I think we've talked about
the Destroyer, a name given to the devil.
Yep. It's all coming together. Again, he is known as the Prince of the Pit or the Star Eater because he ate Sirius. And he occupies the 7th and deepest level of hell and the
up.
library.
In Revelation chapter 9, verses 1 through. So Apollyon is another name for Abaddon in the Bible. Abaddon is described as a personified star who falls to earth from heaven and is given the key to open the bottomless pit. Oh my God.
Wouldn't it be cool? Because Apollyon is regarded as the mightiest of the 7 demon princes. So wouldn't it be strange if Apollyon is Koschei and Koschei faces off with the most powerful High Lord in all of Perithian? Of all 7 High Lords?
Say that again.
Apollyon is regarded as the mightiest of the 7 demon princes. And Rhysand is the most powerful of all 7 High Lords. Yeah. Also, and I know we've talked about this before too, but what's his noodle? The Illyrian that fought for 3 days. Analius. During the battle of the first wars, Prince Peleus and the Prince of the Pit faced each other. The 2 of them fought for 3 days. Until the Star Eater struck the fatal blow, but not before Peleus was able to summon all the horn's strength and banish the Prince of the Pit, his brethren, and their armies back to hell. It just sounds really familiar. It just sounds so familiar. But it's all just filler. This is the filler episode. As a physical book lover, we've all found ourselves in major need of a bookmark when we've been rudely interrupted while reading. Interruptions like your job, your needy pets and family, or your spouse wanting to tell you all about a random thing that they've been doing, all while you're at a really good part. Don't they see that we're reading? And in those moments, we've all found ourselves having to grab for a receipt, a post-it note, a scrap of paper, or the absolute worst, dog-earing your page. Well, in those moments, Case Leatherworks has you covered. Their dog-ear bookmark fits perfectly over the corner of your page, so you never lose your place. Their products are made with top-grain American leather in a variety of colors, and you have the option to customize your bookmark with your initials. Along with their bookmarks, they offer a variety of home good products that's perfect for any reading nook. Support small business by visiting caseleatherworks.com, and our listeners will receive 10% off your first order by using code THEORIES at checkout. That's offer code THEORIES at caseleatherworks.com.
Wait, whenever Rhys and Feyre go to the prison, Rhys is like, don't talk about Amren. Amren does not talk about getting out of the prison. Amren does not want people in the prison to know that she's free. We've theorized that Amren is the 7th Asteri.
Yes. Or that she is an angel in some way, which maybe not necessarily the 7th Asteri, but had been...
No, she's the 7th Asteri. If the Asteri are Apollyon's minions, would he not be like the father? Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, also called Dog Star. What the fuck does Amren mean? A lovely girl, royal or prince. So she could be a princess.
Hold on, though.
Wait, I'm not done.
No, because Amren chose a woman's form. That doesn't mean that she originated as that, and she even kind of insinuated that.
And Elaine or Nesta asked her about her name, and she's like, yeah, it's a long story. Listen to this. Sirius was the brightest star.
Huh? Yep. And we've talked about that.
Okay. The spiritual meaning of Sirius. According to esoteric teaching, Jesus is believed to have originated from Sirius, a star system known for its spiritually advanced beings. He is considered a cosmic being who incarnated on Earth to share profound truths and guide humanity towards a higher path of love, compassion, and enlightenment. Okay?
Okay.
If Jesus originated from Sirius... Sirius is the 7th Asteri. If Amren is Sirius, she started to feel things. She started to love, and her father gave her a gift and let her go to Earth. We've tried to connect Hunt and Amren.
Yeah.
What if they're the same fucking thing? We've connected Hunt to Jesus multiple times. It's glaringly obvious. And Amren chose a female form.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, if the Asteri are the minions of Apollyon could essentially be father. Amren was, if she's a minion, she says she was an angel, but not a good angel. She was an angel of destruction.
Yep.
That was sent to destroy worlds.
Which is very much like a seraphim, which we...
No, it's like the Asteri. So if she was the 7th Asteri, she started to feel shit. She started to want to do shit.
No, I'm talking biblically, like seraphim biblically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not crescent, like biblically, which is almost the same thing
her father
as the Asteri.
gives her a gift and lets her stay. If Jesus comes from Sirius, goes to Earth, stays. I'm just saying.
I'm not disagreeing.
The brightest star in the night sky means sparkling or scorching. Sirius was known as Sothis to the ancient Egyptians, not unlike Solus. Sounds pretty damn close.
Sounds pretty damn close. So I was looking through our spreadsheet of some of the name breakdowns that we did, and just to kind of look back on how we were aligning Bryaxis as possibly being another version of Koschei, because who's to say that he's not all these versions of these different people? Like, if he is possibly also doing Bryaxis, so then he can see what's happening on Prythian, even though he's across over on the continent. But then also in Crescent City, he shows up as the astronomer, and then he can also play part in Apollyon, because the astronomer allows him to work with the mystics, and the mystics are trying to communicate with hell. So I also just went back because I was like, okay, Bryaxis, I was like, I know that I've looked this up. His name comes from a Greek sculptor, okay? So Bryaxis created a famous colossal statue of Serapis in the temple at Alexandria. It represented the god as a combination of the Greek gods Zeus, the father of the gods, Hades, and Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of winemaking, orchards and fruit, vegetation, fertility, festivity, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, and theater.
Nesta.
On then, all three of those gods are seated upon a throne with Cerberus, the three-headed monster, who's a dog, seated beside him.
Dog star is Sirius.
And then you have the father of the gods, Hades, and the god of insanity, all being depicted. So it's a combination for Bryaxis, which also screams Koschei, because you're being depicted as many things. And you have a fucking dog next to you. Just saying, it's all fluff. It's all fluff.
Tell me why I just clicked on an article and it's called The Star of Bethlehem, Three Kings, Sirius, and Orion. What?
Huh? What?
Egyptian mythology appears to be the source of this mythical, not historical motif found also in the New Testament gospel story, with the star in the east signifying the star Sirius, and the three wise men, the stars and the belt of Orion. That literally just links Amram and Hunt.
And it also pairs back around to the circle of threes, which could very well be many of the threes that we have of, whether it be Reese, Cassie, and Az, the Archeron sisters.
Again, while these wise men are not specifically kings, the tradition associated them with the three stars in the belt of the Orion constellation, which came to be called Three Kings in Christian astronomy. I did not know that Christian astronomy was a thing. That seems like a
I also
oxymoron.
did not know that, but okay. I guess with just the stars being in the sky of Bethlehem, that's...
The Egyptians did indeed consider the three stars in the belt of Orion to lead to the bright star Sirius, which in turn both pointed to the place of the sun at the horizon various times of the year and heralded the flooding of the Nile, which the Egyptians considered to be the savior. Hence, the star pointed to the place where the savior would be born, led there by the three kings. The star that Aelin follows to lead her home.
The star born.
The star born.
The three kings.
Demonstrating the theme of the three stars pointing to the bright star indicating the birth of the savior at the horizon, both a solar motif and the annual flooding of the Nile. Again, in Egyptian mythology, Sirius or Isis was viewed as the herald of the coming Messiah, Osiris, the Nile's water flooding. The annual flood took place in late June around the solstice. The Egyptians could expect crop failure and famine. In association with Orion with the dawn is also important and can be found in ancient mythology as well, leading to the notion of the three stars pointing to the place where the solar savior would be born in the morning in this regard. Stars like Sirius, the sky's brightest star, also died when they disappeared in the daytime sky, but they were reborn when they appeared again in the twilight before sunrise.
This is another moment where cameras would be appropriate. If only everyone listening could just see my fucking face. But you know what? It's all fluff.
Is Hunt the seventh Asteri? All the demons are like, what are you doing with a tattoo on your head?
Yeah.
Stars like Sirius, the sky's brightest star, that's the name of the seventh Asteri, also died when they disappeared to the daytime sky, but they were reborn when they reappeared again in the twilight before sunrise. The association with Orion with the dawn is also important and can be found in ancient mythology as well, leading to the notion that the three stars, including Orion, point to the place where the solar savior would be born. Sirius.
On Orion's belt.
For the Egyptians, cosmic order was also visible in the return of the goddess Isis as the star Sirius to the pre-dawn sky. Big connections between Apollyon, the Asteri, Amryn, and Hunt.
And then all those little webs flow off to all the different threes that still continue to exist. You have our little Illyrians. You have our Archeron sisters. You have our thruple. And that's just to name a few. You also have the Bone Carver, Striga, Koshé. That's also a 3. We've went insane.
Revelation 19:9 says, Prince Sirius is exalted. This reminds us that the wedding supper of the Lamb comes when Jesus has returned to take his place as king. If Prince Sirius is exalted, she drinks lamb's blood. She loves it. That's her favorite.
That's her fave. Just casually. Just built-in fluff brought up.
So if you find the royal couple in the sky tonight, go find someone you can invite to the wedding.
I don't know if we've talked about this, but because I have somehow made it onto a wiki page of literally that's called the infernal names. Guard.
It's Earth, right?
As far as like infernal names, which means you have the names of the devils and stuff. So Midgard is also the son of Loki, not to be confused with the Marvel Loki.
Okay.
Loki is also a Teutonic devil, and the son of Loki, Midgard, is depicted as a serpent. What the fuck is on the front of the Flame and Shadow cover?
Snakes on all of them.
There's snakes on all of them, but there's a giant fucking snake on Flame and Shadow.
Hunt's holding one.
Hunt's holding one. There's one with Bryce. She's not holding it, but then it's also in Norse mythology. I cannot pronounce it. It's Jormungandr.
Why can't you pronounce that?
Because it also has the 2 little dots over the top of it.
I have no idea what
I'm like, that alone. It is also known as the Midgard serpent or world serpent, and it is an unfathomably large sea serpent or worm who dwells in the world sea encircling the earth, Midgard, and so biting on its own tail. An example of an Ouroboros. As a result of its surrounding Midgard, the earth, it is referred to as the world serpent. When it releases its tail, Ragnarok, the final battle of the world, will begin.
That's literally what's on Flame and Shadow.
That's literally what's on Flame.
If this episode doesn't go viral, I'm going to be so fucking pissed after we just talked about how we don't care if people listen, because we are like crushing it right now. I'm getting very excited.
Jormungandr. I can't. The Norse mythology.
Okay, no. Flame and Shadow. It's going in and out of holes, but it's not yet eating its tail.
When it releases its tail.
It's not there yet.
When the final battle of the world will begin.
It hasn't started yet because I commented to Emily on TikTok a long time ago, right after the cover for this came out, and I was like, hey, the Ouroboros is a snake eating its own tail. What? Kelly's eyes are like the size of fucking dinner plates right now.
Okay, so the Norse mythology Midgard serpent, the word I cannot pronounce, is said to be the middle child of the trickster god Loki and the giantess Angerbua. According to the Prose Edda, Odin took Loki's 3 children by Angerbora, the wolf Fenrir, the goddess Hel, and the serpent, which is the J word that I cannot pronounce, and removed them from Asgard. The serpent was tossed into the great ocean that encircles Midgard. There the serpent grew so large that it was able to surround the earth and grasp its own tail. The Old Norse thunder god Thor has an ongoing feud with the serpent in their epics, and the two can be seen as arch foes. During Ragnarok, Thor and the serpent will fight each other to the death. They literally have a wolf. Their children's names are the wolf Fenrir, the goddess Hel, spelled capital H-E-L, and the serpent that battles Thor.
Okay. Can you say something? Say like one of the first things that you said after your eyeballs got huge.
The serpent, the Midgard serpent, is said to be the middle child of the trickster god Loki.
Okay.
And the giantess, I don't think I'm pronouncing this correctly, but it's A-N-G-R-B-O and then O with a little squiggly A.
Okay.
According to the Prose Edda, Odin took Loki's 3 children, that him and that Angrabura, and then that's the wolf, Fenrir, the goddess Hel, and the serpent, and removed them from Asgard.
Okay.
Then the serpent was tossed into the great ocean that encircles Midgard. There, the serpent grew so large that it was able to surround the earth and grasp its own tail. The Old Norse thunder god, Thor, has an ongoing feud with the serpent in their epics, and the two can be seen as arch foes. And during Ragnarok, Thor and the serpent will fight each other to the death. And there's only a giant fucking serpent on Flame and Shadow's cover.
Okay, and then the Ouroboros is literally covered with a snake eating its own tail.
Yes.
The Ouroboros shows you your worst. It shows you like who you really are. Like people have gone insane looking at it.
Yes.
Not super unlike Bryaxis.
Yes. It's just the fact that literally their 3 children is a wolf, Fenrir, the goddess Hel, and then this serpent. It's all filler, Liv. How is it? This is what absolutely blows my fucking mind. How is it that I know for a fucking fact that we have talked about? I mean, obviously, where you're like, Midgard means Earth, because it does. It says encircling the Earth, Midgard. But how is it that we are just now seeing that, like, in this Norse mythology, that it is a fucking serpent that encircles the earth and it's biting its own tail, which is an example of the Ouroboros, which we have talked about in Akatar. And then it is actually an arch foe of Thor, who is Hunt, who during Ragnarok, Thor and this serpent will fight each other to the death. And also, this serpent could be a worm, a W-Y-R-M, that we have talked about, that is also depicted as a sea serpent that is in the dragon family. Hunt's going to fight the Viper Queen because she's something, bro. She's something that we don't know enough about.
When did we get the release of the...
The what?
When did Flame and Shadow... Oh, here we go. Okay, so Emily's description of talking about breaking down the cover. I said the thing about the Ouroboros to her. She's
Olivia.
Like, what?
One of the stories with Thor's encounters with this Midgard serpent, one of them is literally called Lifting the Cat. In one story, Thor encounters the giant king Loki and has to perform deeds for him, one of which is a challenge of Thor's strength. Loki goads Thor into attempting to lift the world serpent, the Midgard serpent, disguised by magic as a huge cat. Everything is just going to be disguised as a huge fucking cat. It's just a cat. It says Thor grabs the cat around its midsection, but manages to raise the cat only high enough for one of its paws to leave the floor. Loki later explains his deception in that Thor's lifting the cat was an impressive deed, as he had stretched the serpent so that it had almost reached the sky. Many watching became fearful when they saw one paw lift off the ground. If Thor had managed to lift the cat completely from the ground, he would have altered the boundaries of the universe. I mean,
Kelly,
I'm losing my mind.
this is Jessica on the cover of Flame and Shadow. Let me explain. I literally just discovered this, okay? Burning flames, you're like, okay, cool. Flame
Right.
and Shadow. She's an unknown woman. Resembles the woman on the CC1 cover, but they're different. CC1 is supposed to be Bryce. She's got blue eyes.
Bryce and Thea, I think.
This woman has different eyes. She has an 8-pointed star. She's wearing the mark of the star in the same spot as the priestess in Throne of Glass, who was honoring the gods. An 8-pointed star tattooed upon her brow. Okay. She has gold eyes. And Emily says this could point to Bryce's amber eyes, or it could indicate something more sinister, i.e. trademark of the Vogue. Her eye is also crying black blood, another trademark of the Vogue.
I was about to say, I'm zoomed in on it.
Additionally, the two halves of her face look almost completely different people. The right half makes me think of The Mask. Zoom out more and we see a snake slithering through wormholes. The way they're drawn makes me think of portals or wormholes. Given the overt snake imagery, I can't help but think, and she literally brings up the thing that you were just talking about, Norse mythology, it encircles the world, or Twilight of the Gods is what it's called, which was the series that...
Yeah, which
Sarah's.
is like Ragnarok, Thor.
It famously battles Thor and both die. Okay?
Yep.
The woman also has an array of symbols on her arm, word marks. Her arm also appears to be stone cracking, so once again presented with statue imagery. Okay? She's got a tattoo of looks like Ramiel. She has horns that appear to look like devil horns.
Yes, I was just
as
about
if
to
she
say.
could be, I don't know, like a princess of hell. She has iron teeth nails. Who did I just fucking say was a witch and left?
There's also above her head, right above between the horns. If you look at it and as it goes up behind the snake, is that not truth teller or a sword in general?
Wait, hang on. I have to look at it bigger.
Go to Amazon and pull it up because it'll let you zoom in and you can actually like hover over the cover.
Also, Jessica answers only to the Underking himself in the House of Flame and Shadow. You're saying above her head?
Yeah, so look between, so where the star is between on her forehead and then go up between her horns, but then keep going. Like you'll go behind the moon, behind the snake, and then you'll see the tip of, that's a fucking sword. And then I think we've talked about it before too. So a Crescent City novel at the bottom, if you look between the T on Crescent City or the T on Crescent and the C on City, that's a bullet. And then if you look over to,
I don't know who had a bullet with Memento Mori inscribed on it in their office in a glass case.
And if you also look that, so at Bloomsbury underneath it, if you look to the left of Bloomsbury, there's a lock.
I was just about to say that.
And then, you know,
Jessica can turn people into animals.
She can. And we don't know who any of the animals really are in her antiquities. Also, it's saying that like on the chest of this woman, it's been theorized that's wolf fur. And then if you look up next to her shoulder on the right hand side,
There's a wolf.
is that a wolf or is that a winged Pegasus on the right?
Oh no, you're right. It's a peg. It's got a horn.
But then also up at the very top, you have vines busting out of that.
This is also multiple snakes. There's multiple heads on here. If there's 3, I'm gonna fucking scream.
I only see 2.
Okay, good. But we do not see the end of it. We do not see the tail. We just see 2 heads. I just never want to hear that she's not a genius again. Her saying, I'm not a mastermind, I'm not a genius. Okay. Sarah.
Okay.
Then who is? Okay.
Besides Taylor Swift, who else? Who else?
What does Jessica mean?
Jessica means, I can tell you right now.
Vision or sight? Oh, that's Jessica.
Yeah, so it always took me to Jessica. But Jezebel, so there's a whole thing where basically an alternative name of Jezebel, or no, excuse me, it's of Roga. I couldn't really find anything for Jezebel other than it just kept taking me to Jessica. But Roga,
which means like to behold, God beholds, to see before.
And Roga is an alternative name for Baba Yaga, which
is like a witch thing.
Yes. And so then therefore she would be Baba Roga.
Slavic folklore an ogress who steals, cooks, and eats her victims, usually children. Not unlike Striga. She lives with 2 or 3 sisters, also known as Baba Yaga, in a forest hut that spins continually on bird legs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, that is fucking scary.
Oh, yeah, it's really scary.
Jesus, I wish I had not looked at that.
At 1:30 in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's scary even not at 1:30 in the morning. We have deduced that it is Jezebel on the front of this and that the snake is way more symbolic because it's literally going to be encircling Midgard and then Hunt is going to have to fight off the snake.
Striga gets the crescent. Where is her tattoo? Does it say? Left forearms. Rhysand and Striga receiving magical tattoos on their left forearms.
So there's actually crescent moons on both forearms of who is allegedly Jezebel on the front of this.
I'm saying that it's Jezebel.
No, that's why I said allegedly.
I know. I haven't seen anybody else say that. Have you?
No.
I've seen Bryce, Lydia, Ariadne. Which again, Ariadne's a motherfucking dragon. Kept in the ring of the astronomer, who might be the bone carver.
And then
she went to the Viper Queen.
And she goes to the Viper Queen, who, if we talk about, like we talked about, that is a worm is a sea serpent and a worm is also in the family of dragons. Why was Ariadne immediately drawn to go to the Viper Queen, other than the fact that we talk about before, like calls to like, dragon calls to dragon?
Maybe both of those snakes on the front are the Viper Queen and Ariadne. Jessica's like playing with both of them.
Maybe. Also, if we were talking about where you were saying with Ragnarok, as recounted and based on the Eddic poem, one sign of the coming Ragnarok is the violent unrest of the sea as the Midgard snake releases its tail from its mouth. The sea will flood and the serpent will thrash onto the land. It will advance, spraying poison to fill the air and water. Beside Fenrir, whose eyes and nostrils blaze with fire and whose gape touches the earth and the sky, they will join the sons of Muspel to confront the gods on the plain of Vigrid, Vigrid. Here is where the last meeting between the serpent and Thor is predicted to occur. He will eventually kill the Midgard serpent, but will fall dead after walking 9 paces, having been poisoned by the serpent's deadly venom.
Do we have the definition of Striga? Striga is an undead being. An evil spirit, a demon, quote, a witch.
I mean, Emiego's crack theory isn't quite so cracked.
Mm-mm.
The Thor's final battle with the Midgard snake has been identified with other scenes of Ragnarok on the Gosforth cross.
The fuck is that?
I don't know, but it's on a fucking cross, Liv.
Made out of red sandstone. I swear to God, is that not what the House of Wind is made of?
Isn't it? That is also how Parthos is the dry sand.
And it's gifted to Nesta. Did I not say? Is there symbolism to why Nesta was gifted the House of Wind? There has to be.
There has to be. What?
Koschei, Bryaxis was down in the bottom.
Yeah.
And when he's gone, Koschei gets her to go to the bottom of the library as a winter solstice gift to her to show her the heart of the house, even though she's effing terrified.
Yeah.
Koschei is manipulating the absolute fuck out of Nesta.
Yeah. And Elaine sees it.
The House of Wind is built into the middle and largest peak of the red flat-topped mountains that flank the northern side of Valaris. It just says red flat-topped mountains, but I swear. The red sandstone thing, why do I have like sandstone stuck in my head?
Probably from Parthos.
The House of Wind had been carved into the sun, the red, sun-warmed stone of the flat-topped mountains. So it's there.
It's there. Also, to jump back over to Thor's fishing for the Midgard serpent has been taken as one of the similarities between him and the Hindu god Indra, who in Vedic mythology slays the dragon Vritra, and has also been related to a Balto-Slavic motive of the storm god combating a serpent.
Somebody who has like lightning, maybe.
Maybe. In alternative analysis, is that it was a youthful indiscretion on the part of Thor, retold to emphasize the order and balance of the cosmos, in which the Midgard serpent played a vital role. There are parallels made between the Midgard serpent biting its own tail and the binding of Fenrir, as part of a recurring theme of the bound monster in Norse mythology, where an enemy of the gods is bound but destined to break free at Ragnarok. Coach Jay? Nothing is a coincidence. Nothing. She's laying it out in front of us.
I'm reading about the cross, Gosforth cross or whatever.
Huh?
The cross shows scenes described in the Poetic Edda. Those included images identified as Loki bound with his wife Sigyn protecting him, the god Heimdallr holding his horn.
No, I heard you.
The god Vioar tearing the jaws of Fenrir. Thor's failed attempt to catch the big J word, the Midgard serpent.
When he's fishing for it. Yep.
Okay. Norse mythology, Ragnarok, the death of Baldur, with Christian beliefs, the apocalypse, and the crucifixion of Christ. Among the parallels is Loki being bound is allegorical for Satan being bound. The death of Baldur, accompanied by Hod and Nanna, interchangeable with Christ's death as witnessed by Longinus and Mary Magdalene, and the battle Odin has with Surtur, similar to how Christ ultimately conquers the devil. Another is how the base of the cross has a tree-like design looking like bark. It is possible parallel between the tree of life.
So what's at the top of Flame and Shadow that I just talked about that there looks like vines with leaves? It could very well be
The tree of life.
The tree of life. Because if you look down at the bottom by her, it almost looks like roots or more vegetation. It almost looks like that she is coming out of a trunk of a tree on the front of this. Because literally at the bottom is the roots, and then at the top it starts coming out, and it looks like it's just a pillar. It looks like a pillar, but it could be the trunk of a tree.
The part of the engraving on this cross, engraving of the cross showing Fenrir and Heimdallr.
Your guess is as good as mine on how to pronounce that.
It's spelled different in different places. It's Heimdallr, and then over here there's no R on the end. Norse mythology, Heimdall is a god. He is the son of Odin and 9 mothers. Heimdall watches for invaders in the onset of Ragnarok from his dwelling. Okay, but the picture is a person battling a serpent with 2 heads. I'm not fucking kidding.
Get it the fuck out of my face. I can't. No, it's not. I mean, it is. But
this is literally unbelievable what she has done with all of this.
I would say that we went down a rabbit hole, but it would be more appropriate for me to say we went down a snake hole. Because it's literally telling us, and I hate to do this, it's literally telling us that Hunt is going to battle the serpent and he is going to die. But then if we also take it, again, it's a hill I will stand on until I am proven
resurrected.
He will be resurrected.
I was going to say, if this thing symbolizes Ragnarok, Thor fighting the serpent, he conquers death, just like Jesus conquers death.
And he's
Hunt
resurrected
has so much
3 days
Jesus
later.
Symbolism.
Everybody's been, look at me.
Do you know what the tree of life is?
Everyone's been doing stuff for 3 days, Liv. What happens after 3 days? They've been fighting battles for 3 days. Jesus is resurrected after 3 days. He will be the next. Hunt battling the serpent will be the next 3 days of a battle.
Do you know what the tree of life is? I didn't.
Enlighten me. I feel like I do, but I want you to tell me.
The tree of knowledge connects the heaven and the underworld. The tree of life, connecting all forms of creation, are both forms of the world tree or cosmic tree and are portrayed in various religions and philosophy as the same tree. Various trees of life are recounted in folklore, culture, and fiction, often relating to immortality and fertility. Essentially, typical imagery preserved in ancient iconography, I don't know how you say that, is that of 2 symmetrical figures facing each other with a tree standing in the middle. The 2 characters may variously represent rulers, gods, and even a deity and human follower. Essentially, I'm just freaking out about tell me there's not like goats or some shit on here on the Flame and Shadow cover. The Tree of Life has like animals climbing up the side.
We have a Pegasus.
I know that I'm completely unhinged at this point. You know how it kind of looks like this person on the cover has horns?
Yeah.
On both sides of their head, there's like very similar horn-looking things going up.
Yeah.
In pairs.
Yes.
The fuck is that? Also coming out of like the cheeks. What is that?
Right. So it comes out of the forehead. It comes out almost where there's the swirls that are in the portals, but then it goes up, and then it gives you a set of horns, and then there's almost like a set of horns that comes off, almost like deer off the top. And yes, I know I just said like a deer,
which
like deer
the
antlers.
Tree of Life has 2 horned animals on both sides.
Olivia, shut up.
The Tree of Life first appears in Genesis 2:9 and 3:22 through 24 as the source of eternal life in the Garden of Eden, from which access is revoked when man is driven from the garden. It then reappears in the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, the most predominantly in the last chapter of that book, chapter 22, as a part of the new Garden of Paradise. Access is then no longer forbidden for those who wash their robes, or as a textual variant in the King James Version has it, they do as his commandments. They have the right to the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is promised as a reward to those who overcome. Revelation 22 begins with a reference to the pure river of water of life, which proceeds out of the throne of God. The river seems to feed 2 trees of life, one on either side of the river, which bear 12 manner of fruits. And the leaves of the trees were for healing of the nations. I'm just going to say that if they're granted access, could that not be like symbolism for the better place, a place that you can be together? A place that all these people are trying to get to.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you think about it, Danica was in search of a place that her and Baxian could be together. A better place that they could be together. So why would this not align as that? So then that completely closes the circle of what Danica was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. In Norse mythology, the apples from Ionin's ash box provide immortality for the gods. It's talking about like the forbidden fruit, essentially.
Yeah.
She's not being covered by any of those leaves, is she? Fur.
Mostly fur. And then she has the word marks down her arm. I mean, if you look on the left side of her, there is a leaf. And then basically her torso is vegetation, like the roots. But then there's also a leaf down there. There's additional leaf at the bottom. It almost looks like roots or twigs. I mean, essentially, yes, she is being covered. Also, the snake is shedding its skin.
Cherubim with a flaming sword were placed at the east of the garden to keep Adam and Eve out in Jewish belief. Interesting.
Can we also talk about that when a snake sheds its skin, that it is also just a sign of rebirth? Okay. We have fully broken that apart. And I think we've done a pretty damn good job of that today. So definitely go and just look through the Flame and Shadow cover, see if there's anything on it that we have missed.
I will never sleep again.
We will never sleep again. The scary things that we have seen. But rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite platform. Follow the show on Instagram and the TikTok at A Court of Theories. Follow us on our personal pages. Send your unhinged theories or whatever you found on the cover of Flame and Shadow to us at acourtoftheories@gmail.com. Become a patron by paying your spring tithe on Patreon for exclusive content and fun goodies. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for being here. Love you. Bye.
Bye.